Okay, everyone. I think we've got a really special guest today that you're going to really appreciate. If you've ever seen I think it's Dos Equis commercials, who's the most interesting man in the world? I got to tell you, I think I've met the most interesting man in recruitment marketing, Mitch Sullivan. Mitch is a copywriter, which I know most recruiters be like, what the heck is that? But it's actually something I think is extremely important in
Well,
today's market. And
let-
Mitch, why don't you say hi?
yeah, hi. Let me just correct you if you don't mind. I'm a recruiter who has become quite good at copywriting.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I have made money through writing lots of times, but I self-identify as a recruiter. And although I don't work on as many jobs as I used to, I'll work on maybe 2 or 3 a year because I built a training and an AI business as well, which we'll probably talk about. So yeah, just want to make sure that the audience are on board. So
Yeah.
I'm one of them. Yeah, I'm not a copywriter trying to infiltrate the market.
I love who you've got on the back wall. I lived up in Aspen, Colorado with our old friend. Let's say we met because I think there was a conversation on LinkedIn regarding ads. And I believe that one was about, hey, if you start with a bad job description and you're starting to use all this AI stuff, but the job description's terrible, all you're getting is everything below that's going to be terrible. Because if it's not based on what your skills are, what you're looking for, everything else goes downhill. Now that's when we get into the technology piece. But let let's tell everyone a little bit about your success and your skill and the courses you teach. Then we can talk about that kind of conversation we're having on LinkedIn.
Now, I've been in recruitment slightly longer than you. I was in sales recruitment. In fact, my first job was as a manager, managing a recruitment office, but we did sales recruitment. So I think I got the job because I knew the subject matter better than a lot of people because I had been a salesman and a sales manager in another industry before coming into recruitment. And I just always took the selling part of recruitment seriously. And I always understood that you have to get people's attention if they're going to even read what you've written, let alone do anything about it. I've always seen recruitment as being pretty academic if you can't get enough of the right people in the top of the funnel, whether it's ads or outreach or whatever else it might be. About 10, 11 years ago, I started a training business called Copywriting for Recruiters. It grew very quickly. We trained over 2,000 people across 5 years. I launched it online in 2020, and then revenue doubled every year, and it got really big then because now I could reach everyone, not just
Yeah.
people in the UK. And then 2023 happened. Yeah, but without going into detail, we all know what that started. And I thought I'd arrived with the training. I thought, no, this has entered the mainstream. A lot of the business came from word of mouth as well. So I knew it was a good product, but I thought the ultimate dream was, so this becomes standard for all new recruiters that come into the industry, whether it's mine or someone else's, but it doesn't matter. It's just they get trained how to communicate with the outside world properly about the thing that's most important, which is a job that you have to fill. Yeah, I carried on spending. It took me about 8 months to work out what was going on. Once I worked it all out, by this time we had AI shadow was looming over everything. I took the decision to pivot the entire business into an AI product. So I didn't think my training revenues would come back. Certainly not nowhere near the scale they were. They're still there, but
Yeah.
so I just put everything I knew and everything we trained and every piece of collateral and resource and thinking into building this AI that writes job ads for people rather than teaches them how to do it.
Yeah.
And I figured in the age we're at now, that would be a more compelling proposition for most recruiters. Pay $10 to get a decent job ad written. Yeah. And now I should make the distinction. The job description, the job ad, two complete different things that are
Yeah.
read and consumed at two different parts of the recruitment process. People only want to read a job description if it's about a job they're already interested in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
the purpose of the job ad, is to get them to want to read the job description 1 or 2 days or a week later, whatever your process is. So look, I've launched an outreach sequence addition to that feature. So now people can create an ad and an outreach sequence that goes with that job. And yeah, look, it's moving again. It's growing. It's slow because the market is what it is, but it's been growing every month since I launched it 7, 8 months ago. Starting to pick up speed. So it's making money, just about washing its face. Yeah. Touch wood.
Let me ask you. So I love the fact that you have the ad and then you have the description. And I don't think a lot of people actually get that, honestly, because
Yeah,
I ran a job board.
fundamental. It's fundamental to everything that I hold dear, really.
Yep.
But the two terms are used interchangeably, which frustrates the hell out of me, I have to admit. Look, a job description it's an internal document, generally written by compliance. It has a compliance and legal mindset. There's nothing
Yeah.
in it that's about the candidate or what the candidate might benefit. It's all about the company and what the company wants.
Yeah. Yep.
So that gets
Yep.
translated over into the ad. So it's basically the ad is the job description just brushed up a little bit, maybe a few sections tweaked here and there, but it's still fundamentally, if you look at most job postings, nearly all of them start by talking about the company and how great that company is.
Yep.
The assumption is that it's the company that's going to be the most attractive thing about the job. Which just isn't. It just isn't. What people are most interested in at the point of contact, if they're looking at a job posting or a social post or an outreach message, is their own career. So it's, how might this improve my life in some way? How might this improve my career? And you can either explicitly tell them, which is what I advocate, or you can hope that they join the dots up themselves.
Yeah.
It's a
Would
job
you-
thing, won't come up.
Would you say that most of them are doing sourcing? So you're doing an outreach and you need to do it creatively. That's even going to become more important because there's so many ways to do outreach with email and sourcing automatically. But if you still don't have a very good job description, it's not going to work.
You've got to have everything. You'll find the source of everything in the quality of the data, the quality of the information, quality of the questions asked. And all of the major tech platforms are currently just regurgitating that personalization at scale thing that recruiters has been on trend for recruiters for about the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Basically, in the opening messages, tell the reader something about their own background.
Yeah.
They already know, Phil, I was impressed by your work out, and then connect that to something in the job description that's important. That would make your experience relevant. And
I think
so it goes on.
You've just summarized the spam messages in my email.
Importantly, follow the same formula, and it's an attempt at flattery. Oh, I was impressed by. And look, flattery can sometimes work, but you've got to be really judicious with it, I think.
Yeah.
My view on outreach, look, outreach ads, social posts, emails to people you've already been dealing with in the past, they're all ads. They're all job ads. If you're trying to persuade them to at least take a look at another job. They'll take on slightly different format and a different tone, depending on the channel. Outreach messaging. What I've learned I've done one-to-one coaching and group courses, both online and in person over the last 10, 11 years, if you add them all together. One of the things that I've learned, the three biggest mistakes a lot of recruiters make in their outreach messaging are, number one, they're too long. So literally, if they're even open, somebody sees 150, 200 words, particularly if it's not spaced out that great, or it's cut and paste from a JD, they're probably not going to read it unless they're actively looking for another job.
Yeah.
There's always that caveat. If they don't have a reason to care, they're not going to read. It's nearly always about what the company wants or what the recruiter wants, not what the reader might want. That we've touched on already. And then the hard close, it's, can you send me a resume? Can we jump on a call? Which it's too much to ask for, I think, of a lot of people, if they're passive, to make that kind of commitment that early before they've really got a full picture of what the situation is, what the job is. So my approach is simply based on, you make the first message so short that just by looking at it, they can't do anything but read it.
Yeah.
So it's like 50, 60. And those 50, 60 words only talk about something that reader might find interesting, that relates to the future.
Yeah.
Imagine a future. And then step 3 is to then make that initial email that's really short, just put a soft close in it, which is simply, would you like some more info?
Yeah. Yep.
Basically, I've coined this phrase, which is lowering the cost of curiosity. That's what that's an outreach message is. That's their purpose, is to get people to want to find out more. And that's when the real recruiting starts, in my view. But you've got to get people to want to talk to you. And if you speak to their self-interest rather than your own, you're going to convert more. I've seen it.
I do a lot of go-to-market stuff in my business, and all the spam email that comes out, I don't get them that much anymore because I haven't been on job boards in a long time, but I still get a random one. Somebody sends me a full job description for a full-time job in New York City in office for a role I had 10 years ago, and I live in California. That's not even a numbers game. The number is how many days he has until he looks for a new job,
Yeah.
because you can't send 10,000 emails and make that work.
No, absolutely. And of course, domain authority suffers. And there's all kinds of repercussions. So, yeah, quality over quantity every time. But look, the industry has been obsessed with quantity over quality for a long time.
Oh,
It's not going to change anytime soon.
that's actually a really good point, because there's one topic that is coming up a lot more in the US now because of AI. And I had talked to Patrick, a recruiter, probably 6 months ago. He left one company as a recruiter and he's doing sourcing. He goes to another company and he gets 100 resumes for a hard to fill job. And he's like looking at the resumes and like, wow, this company gets really good candidates. And he reaches out to every single one of them and he goes, these guys, they're not better candidates. They just all used AI.
Yeah.
So the resumes are looking better, but the quality of the candidates is still low for this type of role. But I think if you average that out, recruiters are seeing now, they're seeing more better candidates or better resumes, but the same number of qualified candidates. And so they're getting stuck in that quagmire, which takes a lot of time, of personal time as well. But I think it's slowing down the recruiters, and it's also making it harder for candidates. And then from the candidate's standpoint, the only thing you can do right now is go back to what you and I probably did, which is you got to get skin in the game. You got to send a resume via email. You got to reach out and do a referral, because just being one of the 10,000 that applied on LinkedIn or Indeed is not going to get you in the door.
Yeah, no, I can't speak to that because I've not had any experience of that happening to me. And
Yeah.
I've worked 3 jobs this year, so or I'm working on 1 currently. And well, yeah, volume's not a problem or not an issue. Sorry, but yeah, I've seen enough people complain about it to know that it is, and clearly that is an immediate problem that the industry is going to have to solve or find a way to solve. The only answer I have to it is, look, if you get 1,000 applications inside the first day, yeah, for a job where there's not that many people in that geographical location, it's worse when it's remote. You know what? And a lot of the CVs look the same and look qualified. Clearly, the majority of those people aren't even reading the ad. Now, they're either doing that intentionally or unintentionally. Intentionally mean they're using some kind of auto bot service that just scans jobs, their CV, and does an overlap, pumps it out.
Yeah.
So, my approach has been, I'm just going to talk like a human being to the kind of people that I'm trying to attract in the ad or in the outreach message or in the social post, to make it as easy as possible to want to find out more. It's not that hard. You just got to spend a little bit of time. And it's all you can really do is think, I've got to ignore the volume. I've just got to do what I can to prize out those 4 or 5 people who wouldn't otherwise have even bothered reading the ad, let alone responding to it.
Have you seen, I don't even know if recruiters are doing this. So they get like the 1,000 or they get the 500, a number that is too big to manually screen. It could even be 100 if you got 5 recs come on your table, or 20. Have you seen people do another outreach email that's the real job ad? If we're assuming that a lot of these people are not even reading the job board posting, have you ever thought of sending out what the job is to entice the ones who actually are interested?
I can give you a demo of what my kind of outreach would look like. If I don't want this to turn into a product demo, and it's not going to be, but I'll give you an example if you want to see one. Look, an outreach is just a different way of delivering a job ad, but you're doing it parts.
Yeah.
Not all at once, which you would do in an ad. So structurally, an ad, my job ads, they start by only talking about what's in it for the candidate. And then the second half of the ad is what they'll be doing, what they'll need, who they'll be doing it for, and a call to action. That's the basic template, but it's the inverse of what you typically see, which whenever you look at an ad these days, if they even have a section of what's in it for the candidate, it's right at the bottom. So the assumption is that everyone's going to read the whole thing right from top to bottom. Of course, they're not. Most people bail within the first paragraph. The outreach, it's like, you could liken the ad to a 400-meter race, but the outreach sequence is the 100-meter relay.
Yeah. Yep.
400 meters, but there's four distinct stages to it, or 3 or 5, depending on what your process is or what you need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
But yeah, more recruiters. To answer a question I think you asked earlier, I'm seeing a lot of recruiters abandon job advertising and switch to purely outreach. That worries me slightly because outreach is already saturated market for a lot of.
Mhm.
Sure, more is going to be well received, particularly if they're the same caliber of messaging. But the
Mhm.
great advantage outreach has is you get to choose who sees your ad.
Yeah.
If you're doing your research properly and it's relevant and you don't sound boring, recruiters should be able to get a 30-ish% positive response rate to an outreach campaign.
This is a really interesting time, I think, because there's a lot of people who have been in the market. Matt Charney's talking about this too. If you've ever heard of followed Matt before in the US.
Matt kindly gave me an endorsement on my book several years ago.
Oh yeah.
I've known that for a long time. I'm a big fan of his writing as well. Big fan.
A fantastic writer and great guy too. And Matt's been saying more and more lately that if you want to change your recruitment strategy, it all starts at the job description, and get rid of LinkedIn, even for hourly roles, and go back to your job description and go back to other solutions with your career site, with the job posting, put it on a Craigslist or do it in another way. Because if you get 1,000 candidates, all you're doing is following 1,000 candidates. You can't choose. You can't get that 5 out of that very easily.
I'm pretty sure there are tools out there. Admittedly, a lot of them are homemade and a lot of them are probably bordering on illegal, but there's got to
Oh, the sourcing matching.
it's got to be tools that can thin those thousands resumes down to 200. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd reviewed 200 applications. It wasn't that long. It was something I
Yeah.
had to do. So I just went through all of them at once.
Yeah.
I normally get around 30% that are completely inappropriate. Just
Yeah.
why the hell did you obviously didn't even read the ad?
Yeah.
So stop there within 10 seconds. So that leaves you 120 or so. And that takes a little bit more time. But again, you could normally just take that long. It can be done. But if you're a contingency recruiter and you work for 15 jobs, then yeah, what are you going to do? You
Yeah.
just throw and hope that some stinks.
Interesting.
So it does, because there's always an element of luck in recruitment. Right person, right message or the right job posting on the day that their boss pissed them off or something happened, they didn't get a pay rise. There's always an element of luck in getting that great candidate, but you can increase the odds somewhat significantly.
Yeah. I forget who it was. Someone said on the best day, most recruiters don't even get to a 50% success rate. And
What?
being success being someone stays at the job for more than 3 years.
Oh, wow. That's a high bar on success rate.
Yeah. And he's like, on a best day, most recruiters aren't ever going to get to 50%. So there's a lot of luck that goes in there.
Do you think it's fair that recruiters get judged on length of stay?
No, I think because they don't manage the process. I think this would be like the conversation that everyone. Yeah.
They're not assessing the candidate and making the final assessment decision, are they?
Yeah. And then they don't have a conversation with them. They're not their mentor. They're not onboarding. They're not the person sitting next to them. So there's so many things that go on. But so it's hard to really say, it's the recruiter's fault in that sense.
But if they leave in 3 months, they have to take some of the blame. For sure.
If they're out within 3 months, there's definitely a mismatch. And it's probably management and the recruiter more than just the recruiter, because the recruiter isn't the day-to-day and on a 30-day and somebody bounces. Maybe the interviews were done incorrectly, wrong culture fit that they didn't get a hold of, or completely wrong person.
Yeah, culture fit's a funny one. I heard that's come up a lot. I was wondering, Recruiting Animal?
Yeah.
I went on his show years ago now. God, it must have been 10, 12, more, probably. In its heyday, when there was lots of shouting. I haven't listened to it recently, actually. But I said something on there that got wide disapproval, which was that culture is just a proxy for bias and prejudice. Yeah. And I still think that in a lot of cases. I really do. It's such a difficult thing to measure or quantify. Look, my approach to delivering candidates to clients has always been, we'll solidify what the 2 or 3 must-have non-negotiable skills, knowledge, or experience this person would need to be able to do this job. Normally it's 3. That's what it takes the market. And that's what I assess against. And if somebody doesn't have all three, they don't make it. So everyone that gets sent to the client has got those three things, various other factors. They got to fit with salary, location, various other things. But then, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done. It's over.
Yeah. Maybe that's a great way of saying it. When they sit down at the desk, those three things should be evident and they're working on them, regardless of salary and everything else. It's you get them sitting at the desk and those three things should be driving the immediate action.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, there are always nuances around those things. That gets you a sort of foundational point of agreement with the hiring manager, so you don't fall out. Because it's like sometimes, and I went through this when I was younger. Have you got any more candidates? Not quite sure about that second one, but he had what you want. But there's something about him, all that stuff.
Yeah, you gotta learn through that.
Yeah.
And so I don't care if there's a commercial. I want to talk about your job description tool, because I think in the US, it's just still such a foreign idea. And I think a lot of people in that conversation we was talking about with Matt Cherney is, I want people to know that there are other ways to recruit rather than just taking the corporate job description from your ATS and putting it on Indeed.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I'm working on a relatively senior role that I'm working on at the moment.
Uh-huh.
It's like a number 2 in the UK within a certain organization. And we run an ad, not really pulled that many applications. None of them are suitable. We're tinkering with, because it's a UK-wide job, we're playing around with where we need to place it. I'm starting to build the outreach thing. And I've spent 2 days on it, because at the moment I found about 11 people, and 3 of them I think, wow, if one of those people is interested, this becomes a one candidate process.
Yeah.
I've got to try and study their background, craft what I know about the job that would be appealing to them in their current situation. Depending on the person, there'll be 1, 2, or 3 things. And just crafting the messages just for those 3, individualizing them. I've spent best part of the day on that. Includes leaving them alone, coming back to them, getting someone else to have a read, tell me what they think, who understands the sector, who's a mate of mine. And yeah, because the margin for error is so small when there's probably only going to be 40, 50 people in the country who could do this job.
You can't burn them.
Look, good ads, good outreach messaging aren't the answer to anything on their own. They just give you better conversions.
Yeah.
Out their placements. Obviously, it's not a gold rush. The difference between a good job ad and a bad job ad could be the difference between 80 applications and 85. But the good job ad got those additional 5. And that's normally the difference, is those are 5 people that would never have bothered with the first one, even though it's for the same job. It's small margins. It always is in recruitment. Every contact point is about small margins.
Yep. So what's the URL so our followers can see what you're up to?
You can see this page, yeah, the architect.
Yep.
Right, so here's a job ad created on my AI site for an architect in Manchester, mid-level role. As you can see from the opening, it's all about what's in it for the candidate. That's what gets them into the ad. And then if they're still interested or curious, they're going to think, what would I be doing? Is it a job that I can do or want to do? If they're still reading, they're thinking, actually, this sounds interesting. Have I got what they're looking for? Then there's a bit about the company. And that's it. It's, I don't know, it looks like it's about barely 300 words. It's dead easy to read, gets to the point. We're looking for someone qualified, so it's not hard to describe the job. And then I'll click that. In fact, it's live. I haven't done this yet. So here's a quick explanation as to what's happened. So first message is what I described to you earlier. Get straight to the point, really short. Just by looking at it, you'll read it. You'll know what it says. There's a subject line. You can go standard or you can go creative.
Yeah.
What? And then so the second message is if they respond positively. In a lot of it, you can attach a PDF of the job. So your job ad that I've just shown you up there, you PDF it and attach it, because now they're curious. They want to find out more. And then the second message just tells them a little bit more of what the PDF won't cover, a couple of other things that they might find interesting. Again, another soft close, let me know what you think, move them on. And the third one is a backfill to those that didn't respond to the first message.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah.
If you're only vaguely curious, might be worth a conversation, happy to work around your schedule. I prefer to assume not that they're disinterested, but they just didn't see the message or they saw it, forgot to deal with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's low key, low pressure stuff. That's what I think the right approach to outreach should look like is you're breadcrumbing them. Hey, you want to just walk down a little bit further down the path until they get to the point they go, yeah, this sounds interesting. Then you get them on the phone and then you color it in. And that's when the real recruiting starts, as I said.
Wow. And for our listeners, it's Mitch's AI. What is it? Is it mitchesai.com? Or no?
Yeah, it's Mitch's.ai. Mitch.ai would have cost me $30,000.
That's right. So we'll put that in the show notes too.
Thank you.
I think everyone, doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you're looking for alternative ways, because if you have to engage that small number of people, Mitch has expertise, has been doing this for a long time. I'm sure you'll learn something from him. Hopefully you have on this, just even the mindset that's quite different than what many of us were probably trained on. Even if you're just starting, you're in HR and they said, hey, drop this role. I need to help with recruiting. I hope this conversation has been helpful for folks. And thanks again for getting on, because I just think this topic it's so interesting that we don't hear about it enough in recruiting circles.
I just think a lot of people within the recruitment community feel that a certain percentage of the jobs are relatively easy to fill, even if it takes 2 runs of the job ad. And they're prepared to put up with the pain of the volume and the screening and the mistakes as well that can obviously go along with that. There is no one panacea. Good recruiting for me, I'll leave you with one last thought. Yeah. Good recruiting for me starts from the point where the recruiter, whether they're TA or external, doesn't matter, says to the hiring manager, why might somebody who's doing a similar job to this one in another company want to quit that job to come and work here? And then the next one to speak loses. Yeah. Because they've got to tell you, you've got to get credible answer to that question. And then they're involved lots of follow-up questions. Oh, we've got a great training program. Tell me more about that. What does it look like? What might they learn? Yeah. And this is all gold, what you can put in your ad right at the top that's going to be most attractive to the kinds of people that you're trying to reach. Here, most of them are in jobs that they're not desperate to leave, but they might be getting a bit jaded. They're the ones you're trying to reach, but they're not desperate. So they're only going to start caring if you make them.
Wow. Great wisdom. That's 30 years of wisdom right there in 10 seconds. Thank you so much, Mitch. I look forward to reading more of your stuff on LinkedIn too and following your path here. Thank you. Thanks again for being on.
Thanks for spending your time here with GoHire Talks and listening to our guests. My intention has always been to create incredible content to help you in your career in recruiting, marketing, business, and leadership. We appreciate all of the insights and feedback you provide. If you've got guests you'd like us to have on the show, please let us know. Again, thank you for all your support.